Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Georgette Josephs, and we're here for conversations. Thank you for joining tonight. It's going to be a very different evening. I'm already having nervousness taking over me and just everything. I feel a sense of sacredness, a sense of reverence, and also some triggers because let's be honest, like Christianity, spirituality, religiosity is the core of most of our problems as a part of the LGBT community, LGBT plus community. I call us the alphabet family, so we don't leave out any of the letters on the spectrum. But many of us struggle with a sense of who we are, where we belong. Does God even care about us? Does God even love us? Does He even want us? I mean, he or she, because I think he's non-binary, that's a whole nother story. But I don't want to keep the time, waste the time at all because Pastor Candace is waiting and I'm waiting and I know you are waiting too. I do want to say the Love Zone Foundation Inc. is a nonprofit organization that specifically formed for us, the LGBTQIA plus community, and our mental health. Yes, our mental health. It's important, and we struggle so much. What does mental health have to do with spirituality? Well, research has shown, study has shown that people who have a strong spiritual connection with God, they have a religious affiliation, they tend to be less stressed and they are able to cope better when it comes on to depression. Now, this is facts. This is research. You can check that out in Psychology Today. So this means that, and even as a mental health therapist in training, we are now strongly encouraged to incorporate spirituality, religiosity, or religion, or your belief, your spiritual belief in or treatment plan, because again, it is the core of who we are. So can you imagine if your core is shaken because you're not sure what the creator thinks of you? Well, Pastor Candace will be here tonight to help us understand that we are indeed important to God, that he loves us for who we are, all of us, humanity, all of us, he, she, they, them, all of us belong here. And she will be here to explain to us, to talk to us, to help us to understand that truth. All right. So we look forward to you welcoming Pastor Candace, and she will be best to talk about herself. I already talked about a TikTok famous pastor. She will tell you all about herself. So let us welcome Pastor Candace.
Thank you so
There she
much.
goes. Hey,
Hello.
mother.
Thank you.
Oh my
Hello.
goodness, oh my goodness. I know you are a busy woman. You're busy helping to save lives. We talk about the 30-second, that is so important because every 30 seconds someone has unlived their lives, or we say die by suicide, because most of us know that the high percentage of those people are from the LGBTQI plus community. Again, we want a sense of belonging. And so I'm so grateful that you gave me a yes when I asked you to come and join me on conversations as we deconstruct these lies and these things that the stories we've been told from the, I wouldn't say the beginning of time because I don't know where, but from I was born, I heard that, hey, you're going to hell because you're gay.
Right.
So, Pastor Candice, I want to welcome you to the conversations, and we ask that you just take it over. It's yours.
Thank you so much. It is such a blessing to be here. And thank you so much, Coach G, for the invitation. Of course, I said yes. Anytime that I get an opportunity to address God's people, my people, especially the LGBTQ plus community, I'm going to take it. If it's within my ability to do it, I'm going to take it. And so I believe strongly in what you're doing with the Love Zone. So let me just rephrase. I'm going to take it once I have thoroughly vetted and made sure that everything is in line with the values that I possess as well. I mean, I mean, to have somebody they be like, "Oh, she gonna take every opportunity,"
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
I
I
already got
respect that.
myself locked into something I don't need to be on.
Absolutely. You know what, Pastor Candice, I respect that. And when you said that, that's reminding me of when you said to me, I'm inviting you to watch the Deacon, was it a seminar? But please note that I'm not in agreement with everything the others say. So it's important to clear our names because we got to stand behind our names, right? So I respect that. I totally respect that. But thank you for the yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, and absolutely. And I would expect the same from everybody. Everybody's not going to agree with me, and I respect that. And I'm one of those types of people. I believe in order. I like order, and so I'm one of those people that if I say something that is oppositional to your pastor and whoever your faith leader is, by all means take what I say and research for yourself. Ask questions, go back with the information to them for clarity, or come to me for clarity, but don't feel like everything I say you have to agree with, or there's going to be an issue, because that's just not my way. I feel like with scripture, and I've said this in one of my videos, I take a liberal arts approach to scripture because of the fact that that's how I was taught. See, when we go to seminary, that's what they teach us. And I went to one of the most conservative seminaries in America. And that was what they taught us, how to take a liberal arts approach to the scriptures so that we can rightfully divide the word for ourselves. And what you find out is there are several various, I won't say thoughts, I'll say points of view or thoughts regarding the same subject matter that are biblically substantiated. And for me, that was so eye-opening, because that means that when we get engrossed in dogma and denomination and all of that, we're missing a piece. And so I would never want to pigeonhole people into, you have to believe this way, or we're gonna have an issue.
Oh, we love you already. We love you already. So what has caused me to reach out to you as we get into our interview, and I don't call it interview, but a conversation, make it real, is I have been on a quest. I have been, you hear the accent, I'm Jamaican, born and raised, and what do I have? What business I have being a lesbian, tumblesome, I'm Jamaican, right? So I caught hell for that as well. But the reason I reached out to you, Pastor Candice, is your TikTok. My friends have been encouraging me to do TikTok, and I'm like, no, I'm too shy for that. But then I saw what you were doing. I'm like, wow, she is setting people free. So I would go to your TikTok several days because you were healing me. Your message, your content, it was comedy, it was relatable, but it was healing me. Like, I was triggered several times by questions people would ask you in comments, but your sarcasm, I love your sarcasm, man. And the way you teach us, and so I said, wow, I want to share this with my organization, because a lot of us are in bondage from this. A lot of us just giving up on and really experiencing like the goodness of life and holding true to some type of morals and and value and standard, because it doesn't matter, God don't want me anyway, right. As a person, the mental health profession, I see how damaging that is, when you don't have that spiritual moral compass, because I don't need one anyway, because God don't want me, kind of thing. So right. I said, I need her. I have to get her on here. But I waited like maybe 8 months or so, and I reached out to you. So that character, in Jamaican say character, whatever. You hear all kinds of pronunciation today. Mother. I want to know, who is Mother? Do you know a Mother? That you play that person so well. Let me right. Tell me about Mother. Like, who is this person?
I think we all know, if you have grown up in the church, especially the African American church.
Pastor, let me just introduce them to Mother.
God calls homosexuality an abomination. God calls homosexuality an abomination. God does love you, but he hates the sin. Read it. Where exactly does he say that? Leviticus, it's in there. Oh, Leviticus 18:22. You are aware that the original translation, if you were to translate it from the Hebrew, really says that mankind should not sleep with young boys. That's not what my Bible says. because you're using an English translation, but in the Hebrew, that word means young boy. Furthermore, the Apostle Paul says that if we're going to follow any letter of the law, then we must follow all of the law. Well, I do that. All those pig feet, hog maw, and shrimp you be eating says otherwise. Well, that's not a... Oh, yes, it does. Oh, that polyester hat that you wear. Blending two types of fabric. Ain't nothing wrong with my hat. Oh, and your son Leroy, I tend to remember he was quite a handful. Why didn't you stone him as the law required? You don't know what you're talking about. And neither do you. We live by grace. It is by faith and not by works that we make it in.
Tell us more.
Oh, mother.
My mouth is sharp.
I think we all know a mother. If you grew up in the church, especially the African American church, you know a mother. You've dealt with a mother. Someone, a mother of a church that is super judgmental, that continues to ride down hard on sin unless it's her own, because meanwhile she's doing anything and everything she wants to do, including eating anything, and not that as a Christian, of course, the law, the dietary laws and all of that, but if we're going to pick and choose, if we're going to use Leviticus against gay people, then we must follow the entire law. You can't just pick one little piece of the law and then say, well, that's the part that I'm going to use against you, but not find a portion that also can be used against yourself. And so I think we've all dealt with someone like that if we've grown up in the church. But there are deeper levels to mother that mother is the personification. There's actually 3 levels. That's the first level. The first one is she's a person that many of us deal with or have dealt with. The second is the fact that she is the personification of the Christian church, in particular, the Black church. From my experience, this is what I see. And these are the conversations that I hear people, the church, and not pinpointing one person or any particular person, but the church in general. These are the conversations I'm hearing. So, being gay is an abomination. Women shouldn't preach. The list can go on. Modesty, and many other things. Teen pregnancy. We're addressing a lot of stuff in on the TikTok, not just homosexuality, where that is the main theme. It is not the only thing, because the church is quite judgmental to a lot of people, not just gay people. Right. But in any case,
they're hard on us.
Yeah, she's the personification. She is a caricature of the church. But there's actually a third level that honestly I haven't talked to anyone else about but my wife, and so I will be sharing it with you and those that are tuning in. Mother, one of the reasons I don't or haven't gotten anyone else to partake in these videos is because mother is me. And when we are indoctrinated into a faith, and it has been taught to us over and over again, certain things, when those things are presented to us, even the most liberal of us, even those of us that are even, we're free, there is still a portion of us, because it's been taught to us, that wants to rise up. Yes. And we fight mother in ourselves. She's me. I'm fighting myself when I'm doing mother. I'm fighting the inconsistencies that I have allowed myself to digest in mother. I'm addressing those things. I'm battling. And I'm slaying. So and that's all of us. I think I just went out. It happens to many of us. You've been taught these things where you've heard, for instance, women should wear women's clothes, like there's a such thing. Men should wear men's clothes, and that's what the Bible says. And so then you struggle within yourself to go into the men's department and find a shirt that you feel comfortable in. Yeah. And you struggle, and you have this internal battle, this internal conversation with yourself. But this says this, and that says that. That's mother rising up in you. Not only is there mother, but if you notice, all of my characters are me. So there's a chauvinistic person. I'm a woman, but still been indoctrinated in a chauvinistic world. There's actually 2, Reverend James and Elroy. If you notice, Elroy wears a USMC t-shirt. and he wears a dirty hat because I have, because he's a woodworker.
And he's
I have,
drinking.
yeah, and he's drinking and dipping and everything else. I have systematically since almost since birth, I would say, gravitated toward men type profession, things that was statistically men. So I've been in the Marine Corps. I'm a woodworker. You know, all of these things. And so being in those environments, I've picked up some of that sexism. It's in me. And so now I have to combat that thing with the truth, because the person with the glasses represents truth. She represents knowledge. And so logically is what you're saying doesn't make sense. And that's what each video is about. It's about logically the internal things that I've been taught and indoctrinated doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, here's how it doesn't make sense. And we work it out from there.
You know what? Wow. I don't even know if we're going to have enough time to really expound on a lot of these things. But as I heard you describe the third piece of mother that you only spoke to your wife about, and thank you again. That's an honor for us. I can relate. I can hear that. And I'm sure other members of our community could relate, because let's take, for example, our non-binary siblings. Right? We want to place people in a box. Well, you need to just wear, if you're gonna be a femme, wear feminine clothes. If you're gonna be masculine, wear masculine clothes. Why are you switching up so much? Why you have a beard and lipstick? And we just try to put everybody that's a mother. And I have been guilty of it before I had the knowledge. You know what I mean? And to be honest, I love your vulnerability and your honesty, because that's going to help us to set free tonight, and myself as well. Because as I not struggle, but as I journey, as I take this journey in my community to understand and wholeheartedly love everybody in my community on that spectrum, and I mean every bit of that. Like, I go out of my way to understand, because understanding is so healing. You know, I realize that understanding is helping me to cancel, to delete the mother in me that wants to, but they need to make their mind up. I mean, well, if she gonna be that, why? Well, you know what I'm saying? That judgment that rises up in all of us. So I appreciate, Pastor, that says a lot about you. I appreciate that open, honesty, because we all have that, and we all need to hear that so we can work through that. So thank you so much for sharing that. I do want to make sure I ask this question, because I am like that. I want people to understand why I vet people, or why I bring people on, just like you are. I mean, I'm not responsible for certain things that you do have to hear that, you know what I'm saying? But I've watched you. I've read up on certain things, and I felt comfortably enough. So I want our audience to understand why you have authority on this. What are your credentials?
Absolutely. Well, I am a Christian pastor. I went into ministry at the age of 24, and was ordained later on after I received a bachelor's degree in religion. And like I said, I went to one of the most conservative schools in our nation. I went to Liberty University, which is Jerry Falwell School. And and the only reason I went, God told me to, like, and I heard it plain and clear.
Wow.
God said, go there. Because how do you, and this is the approach that I take, how do you have an argument against something if you don't know what it is?
I get it.
How are you arguing it? That you can't. So I needed to know
strategy.
What do y'all believe? Because I think I know what you believe, but I don't really know if I know. So I needed to know what they believed. And truly, I wanted to honor God with my life. And if there was something that Liberty could teach me that could change or to redirect or help me with my sexuality or whatever, if that was something I needed to learn, I was willing to learn it. I didn't want to just brush it under the rug and pretend like it didn't exist and all of that. I wanted to know for real. I was searching for truth. And Liberty University couldn't answer these questions. Liberty University had no real theology that was put together outside of face value scripture that made sense to say that homosexuality, transgender, or any of these, the LGBTQ community was wrong. And I then went back and got my MDiv, same school, from my alma mater. I went back and got my MDiv, and that's pretty much my credentials. I feel like I was credentialed even before then, though. I was called at the age of 4. I knew I was supposed to be a pastor. My grandmother was a deaconess in the church. She was really an outstanding woman of God. She helped me a lot as a child understand the scriptures. From my point of view, or from a younger person's
From where
point of
you at,
view,
yes, for you
a
to
child's point of
understand.
view, yeah. And so that's
All
been
right.
my journey.
So I see we have 15 messages
Oh wow.
or questions waiting. So my precious, sweet, beloved family, just give me a moment. We just want to get into, we want to make sure we vet Pastor Candace. Yes, yes. I want you to know that I've already done so, but I want you to take part in this segment, the vetting part of it. So just bear with me as I ask some of these questions, and we will jump to your questions. I promise you, and she will stay on and answer these questions as best as possible. Right, Pastor? Right. We're hungry. We're about to experience a new year, and this is my gift to us as siblings. Let us start the new year knowing who we are and whose we are, and being confident in the love of our Creator, the God that designed, created us. He loved all of us. So this is my gift, my happy new you gift.
Yes.
Not new year, but happy new you. All right. So we'll get to your questions in a few. So, Pastor, my next question would be, where do you get your information from?
Oh, so I'm an avid reader. And I even had to admit, because people got on me because I had mispronounced some words, and I'm like, y'all, I read.
Join the club.
Yeah, I read, and so I'm going to read the word as I'm sounding it out. If I don't know the word, I'm sounding it out, and so then it's stuck in my mind what I think the word means, and so it's in my mind as that word because I read. And so there are several sources that. So after I went to school, after I went to seminary, I've also done the Reformation Project cohort, which is 12-week intensive that really delves into the scriptures, homosexuality, and the Bible, and awesome organization. I'm actually the chair of the board of that organization. And so, yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yes. Yeah, so awesome organization, awesome information. Matthew Vines is the executive director, and he also wrote the book God and the Gay Christian. And I read that book. There's several books that I go to for information. Bible, Gender, Sexuality by Jim Brownson is an excellent book if anyone is interested. I actually have resources on my website. Yeah, so some of these books are just dynamic. Justin Lee, who is a friend of mine, he has written 2 books actually, but Torn is an amazing book. Kathy Baldock, who is also I'm so blessed to even know these individuals because they're amazing authors. She wrote Crossing the Bridges Canyon, awesome resource. So I read, I pick up the information through reading, and I just want to share it.
The Bible, I'm no Bible scholar, but I do know a little bit. Didn't the Bible say, study to show yourself approved?
Indeed. Right. Indeed.
Okay. So you're doing just that. You're doing just what? Did I quote that properly? I'm just trying. I'm trying. Okay, you don't play with Mother No or Pastor No. She will check you. Okay, so I'm gonna go to these questions real quick.
Sure.
Let me see what our siblings are saying over here. Okay. We have Luke. Please forgive me if I mispronounce your name because I also have that problem. And as Jamaican, that make it worse. Okay. So we have, why do you think the church created an anti-gay, etc. agenda in the first place? We have a lot of questions. So
the church, I believe, and people are in charge of the church. I don't want to put anything on the church until I differentiate what I'm talking about, because the Bible didn't create it. God didn't create it. People created it who happen to represent the church.
Yes.
And it seems that it is the loudest of us and I say us because they're still a part of the body of Christ, it is the loudest of us who have the microphone. We're the ones that are making the most noise. And I'm not part of that group, but the ones in power, the white evangelical church, are the ones that will and want to oppress anybody and anything that is different than them. Before it was gay, it was interracial marriage. That was an own attack. Before it was interracial marriage, it was Black people in general, and the fact that Black people were subhuman, according to them, and using the Bible to justify it. What a lot of people don't even know is before it was that, it was left-handed people. Left-handed people were attacked by the church,
yes.
and seen, and redheads were attacked by the church and seen as demonic or evil, and so on and so forth. So it's always been something. When people realized that there was power to be wielded, they wielded it and they used it as a weapon against people. And now we're starting to even change over a little bit, and it's becoming less about sexuality and more about gender now. And we're starting to move into the attack on our transgender siblings and non-binary siblings. And they're starting to leave sexuality alone a little more, not completely, but a little more, and focus on those individuals. It's always going to be something.
I call it the gender attack.
Yep, because it is power, and that's what it boils down to: it control, power.
All right. Thank you for that, Pastor Wiggins, because that's the name I could pronounce correctly. I hope you got your answer. Let me go to Jasmine. As a former pastor, hey, pastor, I appreciate these conversations. In seminary, I did research on sexuality and spirituality. I'm excited for this live event. Oh, bless your heart. Bless you. Bless you.
Amen.
All right. Oh, this is your wife right here. I think she made a little comment. Let's see. I'm looking forward to this conversation already. Hello, Elder. Well, we're going to show you her wife in a few. Stop. Touch your noses. Touch your noses. My mother is the mother. Okay, so I'm just running through your comments and your questions real quickly, guys. Thank you for the work you do breaking it down, how religion is damaging. Yes, you're welcome, Louis, Lord bless me.
Louis.
Great conversation. Thank you, guys. We really thank you for joining us tonight. Wow, this is so true. She hasn't even gotten to the meat yet. She's what we are fighting against within ourselves because of how we were raised. You know what? I want to just stop really quickly to say something about this, Wiggins, and thank you for that. In the community itself, we fight against each other. And one of the reasons I created the Love Zone Foundation to work on the mental health and work through the trauma is this, because we are fighting against ourselves in our own alphabet community. I use the word alphabet because it's so many letters right now. And this is why it's a fighting against within ourselves because of how we were raised. So as a cisgender lesbian woman, not me, because I love my trans sister. I don't play about them. I actually, you'll see a slide of one of them on this thing too. So, and I had to learn and I had to unlearn some things that I learned. But I realized we're not even supporting a lot of us, we're not even supporting our transgender siblings, the men and women. We're in our little corner. We are all separated. And then we become judgmental too. And so we have to kill that, but we can't kill that yet until we deal with our trauma. And a lot of our trauma is because we are not accepted in the church, or we don't feel like God loves us. So you just cause you wreak havoc everywhere you go. So this right here,
the oppressed will always find someone to oppress.
The oppressed will, and in psychology we say hurting people are people. We're all traumatized people who need healing, and so this is a big part of the healing, going back to where it started, right? All right, so let me keep going. Thank you for that, guys. Thank you for the comments. Where do you already asked you that? My goodness, so many questions. Bear with me, Pastor.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here and share.
I'm trying not to cry. We apply biblical context to modern and contemporary concepts. They didn't wear slacks in the Bible. I say we because I was raised in the AA Methodist church. I attended the Baptist church with my grandmother. So I'm making a comment. Or she's not really asking a question. I leave you to respond.
That's an excellent point, because we read the Bible from a modern standpoint and we get it all wrong. we for instance, what are men's clothes, women's clothes? Certainly not slacks and blouses. They didn't have those.
Right.
They
And
didn't
that
have
was
slacks
coming
and
against
blouses.
their non-binary people. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you need to wear that because you're a woman, or you need to wear that because you're a man. And so, like you
Yep.
said,
And then we oppress people with these concepts that don't apply. And we say they're from the Bible. They don't apply. It's not a one for one.
okay.
Oh,
So,
looks like somebody went to
guys,
Liberty.
please forgive me if you see I haven't put your comment up. I promise you, I'm not doing it intentionally. I'm really trying to scroll as quickly as possible. Hard to be the vulnerable, but what courage! Hard to be.
Talking about the duality between mother and me.
Oh, okay. Ironic. It's called liberty, and I felt so restricted and stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
We want to unpack that a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Liberty is and they have issues not just for LGBT, but African Americans. It was in the 90s when the first girl was allowed to wear pants on campus at Liberty University. That's how stuck women still. It was culture shock for me because I went to online school. And so when I went on campus for an intensive, it was culture shock to sit with a young lady, and she was in the master's program just like me, getting her master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, what do you intend on doing with your degree? And she looked at me like a deer in the headlights and said, I just want to find a husband and become a wife. And I said, well, that's a great goal, being married and but what are you going to do with your degree? And she could not tell me. She wasn't there for a degree. She was there for a husband, because that's what people from that world are taught. You go to your Christian school to find you a good husband, a good Christian boy. And then the man gets a career, you get a baby. And there's nothing wrong with child rearing. There's nothing wrong with being a family person. But when someone, and she was about 18, 19, I think actually she was after a bachelor's at that point. And but somehow we were in the same, she was real young. But for her to have it ingrained in her that her only worth was in being a housewife, and that's all she could see, is like that was a little problematic. That's all she could see. That was a little problematic.
Oh my goodness. Okay. What do you recommend when vetting a church home when you are a part of the LGBT? We got so many questions, and I have go ahead, mother. I almost say mother, pastor.
You about to make mother come out.
I know.
Any church that will take you.
That's entertainment purposes. What would mother say just now? Let's keep it a little light. So let me
Right.
What do you recommend?
Just need to get your tail in church and come on to church anyhow. Don't matter what they say. She wouldn't care. She wouldn't know how to answer that. Oh no. It's so important when we go and step foot, because churches will do a bait and switch on you, child. They will do a bait and switch on you so quick. Everybody is welcome. Welcome to come. Welcome to tithe. But when you say, I would like to be in leadership, that's a no. You can wait the door. You might be able to be on the usher board. You certainly can be on the choir. You can be in if you can play an instrument, you can do all that. But when it comes to leadership, when it comes to being ordained, these are the questions that we should ask as LGBT people trying to find a church that we are going to invest our time, talent, and treasure into. We should be asking, do you marry? Will you perform a same-sex union or marriage here? And will you do it within the walls of the church? Not just will one of your pastors come out somewhere and do it, but will you allow a same-sex marriage here in your church? Because if you allow heterosexual marriage, then you should also allow same-sex marriage. Then another question is, are there any LGBT people that you have ordained or sit on staff in leadership position in this church? If not, is there a reason why they could not? Because every church isn't grown enough to have someone. So that's not a disqualifier. If they just don't have, they may not have had an opportunity yet. But is there a disqualifier? Right. Is there a reason? Is their sexuality the reason? And oftentimes that is the reason that no one is on there.
Again, let me just remind my audience, I'm getting to your questions. I promise you, I am. Listen, I want to comment on that because I've had a hard time. I was in Jacksonville. I had a hard time, and in a movie here, I had a hard time. We don't have a lot of LGBT plus. We're not in Atlanta like you, Pastor. So
Well,
perhaps
I'm in Savannah.
you in Savannah, you're hinging on, but perhaps you need to have an agape ministry or something in Orlando. But we'll attack you on that later on. But here's the thing: I went to, and I won't call the church. It's a wonderful church. I visit from time to time. And I love the praise and worship. I love the past. I love everything. And I'm going to go be honest. I think a big part of our trauma is afraid of being triggered when we go to certain churches that is not known as affirming. I don't want you to tolerate me. I want you to accept and affirm me. And we don't have many of those churches. And the ones that we have might be a little bit messy. We've had this conversation. So let me talk about the one that I went to that I absolutely love. I went and I asked one of the pastors, like they look at me crazy because they didn't expect that. Like I wasn't playing about my spirituality anymore because I'm healing some brokenness and some triggers. As a mental health professional, I'm healing too. And a big part of my healing is spirituality. I've been church hurt so many times, and being island from Jamaica, you're not sure, my family don't support me all the way. I can't, some of us get stuck in relationships because we don't want people to think it was a joke. So we stay in this toxic thing. You know what I mean? So all of those things, I'm like, I'm not playing anymore. So I went to the church and I said, "Oh, are you one of the pastors? Wonderful church." He said, "Yes." I said, "I have a few questions." And he thought it was going to be something else. Well, I said, are you guys accepting and affirming when it comes on to the LGBTQIA plus? He was looking like
deer in the headlights.
And I said, you understand? Because you see me and my partner, you see this is a same-sex relationship with a child. So it was like, well, and you try to, fix it up, right? Very sweet response, but it wasn't affirming.
Right.
It was more like it was hinging on tolerance. So he said, we love all people. And, so I said, would I be able to serve? And his response was very nice response. He said, keep coming and see how you feel about it. So I saw a few LGBTQIA plus siblings in there, but of course they're undercovers. Yeah. And there's another trauma on top of our trauma. And you see how our community full of trauma? You see what I'm saying? So they come because they want the word. Like I said earlier, a research shown that people who have a faith, have a belief system, or we are spiritual, or we have some type of religious practice, we have less we are less likely to have depression issues or suicidality and all these things. So the opposite of that is what? Suicidal issues and depression, right. So that's why we're going through all this. So I see them, but they were hidden in the church. So I saw one person who it was obvious, that was my sibling, but he had to keep it in, you can be gay, but don't use it kind of thing. And so I love the praise and worship. But when I'm hearing the word, I'm nervous while I'm sitting there because I don't know when I'm going to hear and homosexuality. And I've never heard it, but I am still nervous because I've heard it before. So we live with triggers and we live with traumas and we're scared everywhere we go. So I can relate to that question and the vetting process. But when you vet and you can't find a church, you left home with what? Right. So we need some answers. We need to come up with some solutions because we need a home, Pastor. We need a home.
Definitely, you're welcome at Agape Empowerment Ministries. We're virtual. So
we want to serve.
and there are ways to serve. We've designed a program at our church that involves spiritual growth coaching. And so those that are solid in their faith, mature in the faith, have been coming to the church for a while, can become spiritual growth coaches where they can help someone else. A lot of times we miss individual attention, and I can't give everyone individual attention. Because I'm one person. My wife is one person.
Talk about that somewhere when we talk about what you offer on your site. That's good. Cool. I love knowing that. So Marcy, hey Marcy, thank you for joining us. This is one of my ambassadors for the Love Zone, like she ride or die. Awesome. What is the original Hebrew word you reference with mother?
Zakar. So, and that is quite controversial. A lot of people, even people that speak Hebrew, say that it means just male. My argument is not that it does not mean just male now, but language changes. And so, during the time when Martin Luther had his Bible translated into German, it was translated as boy. And so I'm not the only person. I didn't just pull this out of the sky. Martin Luther's translators also back in the 1600s, 1400s, I believe, actually, also saw the word and said that's what it means. So yeah, and it's controversial. However, it's the word Sakar.
Okay, so I'm gonna speed this up a little bit because I'm not even gonna look at the time. We're doing God's work. All right. By the way, I'm gonna put our Cash App up because one thing we have to, let me just put this plug out there real quick. Y'all know I'm real. One thing we have to learn in our community, I don't care about outside our community right now, in our community is appreciation and reciprocity. We can no longer, for 2022, we're changing that. We're going to show appreciation, not just in our words, but in our action, be loving action. So we have Pastor Candace. She could have been doing something else with her church. On Wednesdays, they have prior Bible study, and she chose to be here. So I'm going to put her Cash App up. No, she didn't ask me. I am saying we have to do better by our family or siblings. And we ask you to just give a love offering because this is great stuff that we're not getting anywhere else. All right. So we're going to be loving action. And I will find her Cash App real in a few minutes when I read this one question and put it up. We're going to show love. We're loving action. We're going to change it for 2022. All right. Okay. So
appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for spreading God's message through love. Yes. And I must say, you're so inclusive, even with the bigots, the way how you handle stuff. You know, you're still very tactful. You're slick and very sarcastic, but you know, you still show love. And I love that. I love that. Okay. So
I love even the bigots.
I know you do. Isn't going back to the original interpretation the best thing? All the stacked interpretations lose original meaning with man's prejudice. Okay. I'm gonna let you handle it.
Yes, absolutely. Going back to the original is absolutely imperative. And that's what we don't learn when that's what we learn from seminary, but that's not what we learn from church. Church teaches us to literally just go by whatever the pastor says, whatever the Bible says. But unless you can do a proper exegesis of the text, you don't know what the text says because you don't know what it meant to the people that would originally have heard it. And if you can't decipher that based on context, based on authorship, based on a lot of different things, you're going to get the wrong meaning, and then you will apply it to your life in a wrong way. So,
okay. All right, I'm doing so many things. I'm gonna ask your wife, Elder, can you please drop her Cash App information so I can put it on the screen? I thought I typed it here, but I'm multitasking. You know, I'm the everything right now, so bear with me, guys. So Elder, Erica, can you please drop your wife's Cash App in the comments so I can put it on the screen and I can, you know, keep it there. Thank you so much. We are loving action. We don't support one another. I have reached out to the LGBTQ pastors when I was in the church, and they were not when I was in the church. I'm hearing something when I was in the church. Okay, and they were not responsive. They showed up for speaking engagements and live events, but never answered emails and calls. We are as vile as our oppressors. And yes, let me stop right here, Jasmine. I second that. It's true. Even with me having an organization for us, for our trauma, for our mental health, it's like pulling teeth. I thank God for the people who show up for me. It's true, but can I please say to you, coming from the mental health side of things, it's trauma. Trauma. We are only doing what we were given and what we're used to, and we can't understand what we were told and what we lived, what we experienced. You know, it's just like the example. You still have a little mother in you that you're trying to kill. So I have to just say I agree with you, but I also want us to understand that all of this issue is trauma. We have trauma in the rainbow, and when I'm about to do a symposium where we get all of our people to come together to heal our community, and this is why we have people against us. People are not trying to be there for us because we are fighting each other. We're not even supporting our transgender siblings. We're not
Right.
going out there with placards and stuff trying to fight for them because it's not us. You're right, but it's trauma, sister. So we have to deal with the trauma in our rainbow, in our alphabet community before we're able to do these things that you're asking. You know, I agree with you, but we have a Pastor Candace, so we have to find or build our tribe. So let's start building our tribe. There are people who are doing the work, who are healing in their personal lives, and they're trying to heal those trauma to make to kind of effect change. And I'm one of those people. So let's come together and see what we can do. Let's build our tribe. But that was a good one. It's trauma, sister. It's trauma.
Yes,
all right.
It is.
What advice? Let me see. Did I already? What advice would you give to? Please, again, forgive me if I've skipped your question. Oh my goodness. What advice would you give to someone struggling to reconcile their sexuality and faith? Good question. Great question. Yeah. Who was this?
I think it was one of our questions.
Oh, okay. So let's put that in. Let's put that in. Go ahead, Pastor.
Awesome. You know, I think that when we are reconciling our sexuality and our faith, the first thing is, you know, we can gain all the knowledge that we want. You know, there are plenty of books. Like I said, there were some resources even on my website, CandaceHardnett.com. You can go and you can read those books. However, if you have not heard from the Holy Spirit, if you have not talked to God about this, you're not going to be satisfied. And many of us are afraid to go to God. We are afraid to ask God. We are afraid to ask the question, God, what do you want from me? What do you require of me, God? You know, can you give me guidance? Because we don't want to be rejected. We've been rejected by churches. We've been rejected by pastors. We've been rejected by other faith leaders and people that even sometimes our own parents. And the last rejection we want to hear is from God. And so we refrain from asking the important question, God, do you love me? God, am I pleasing to you? And until we can ask that question and then listen for God's response, we're not going to, it's not going to mean anything. You can read all the books, you can watch all the videos, you can gain all the knowledge. The first and foremost thing I always say is, as you are doing that, ask God, talk to him. He is a father. I just received an email, a message from someone who was like, I did exactly what you told me to do, which is what I just shared with you. And God responded. God, and they're feeling more confident in themselves because they heard from God. Once God tells you something, can't nobody tell you different.
Can't nobody tell you differently. Yep. So the charge is to ask God. I love that. I'm trying to get your cash up. I'm not playing. I don't play about reciprocity. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, Pastor. Let me put another question up so you can work on it.
No problem.
We have to change 2022. We got to heal this trauma and show up for each other and do the right things by each other. We are all we got. We are all we got. So
we really are. And I'm so very thankful to anyone that does want to give.
Chardonnay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're all we got.
We are indeed our all we have, you know, because I make a joke of it, I make light of it, but truly a gay person can go into a straight church and ask for counsel, and it will always go back to the fact that you're gay. I don't care what you have going on. It'll go back to, oh, you're gay. That's the problem. There's so many people. Yep.
What kills me is they use us. We have the voices, we have the makeup artists, you know, with the designers. Like, we are all this, like, y'all hypocrites. Y'all wearing the designer hats. Where you think this stuff come from? The designer shoes and clothes. We have the best voices. Like, excuse me.
Right.
It's called liberty and free. Okay, that person already said that. Okay, Lord help me. I'm trying to get through all these messages.
Well, I'm so glad that everyone feels so comfortable to ask questions.
Yes, absolutely.
That is such a blessing.
Can you please DM me the website? Yes, we're going to have all the information. Just please bear with me because I have to get through questions. I have people who, you know, are at their end, like they're over. They don't even want to live anymore. People who, you know, I've invited on this live. So bear with me. You're going to have all our information. Trust and believe. I made sure I get everything out of her. So yes, you will. You will. I promise you. Just give me some time so we can get through our other siblings' messages. I must go, Sally, but it's okay. It's okay. The live will be up. You can go back to it.
Yep.
All right. All right.
And my website is CandiceHardnett.com. It's super easy. It's my name, CandiceHardnett.com. So anybody that wants to go visit it, there's resources on there. There's, yep, there it is right there. There's pretty much all my contact information. If you're interested in booking me for a speaking engagement, that's on there. I'm about to upload my brochure for weddings. So if you are recently engaged, I know a lot of people get engaged on Christmas and New Year's is like huge. You're looking for an officiant, someone that is going to, number one, be professional, because that is exactly what I bring to the table, professionalism, but also experience. I've been doing wedding ceremonies for, since 2008. So I would be absolutely honored if anyone would.
Yes, you will have all our information. I promise you. I promise you. She's the bomb. Do you think LGBTQIA+ will always be an issue within the church?
You know, I think that it's going to die off the same way, left-handedness died off, the same way, the interracial thing died off. I think there will always be remnants, just like there's remnants of all of those things now. However, I do think it's going to get better. We're seeing a change even as we speak. Major denominations are now ordaining and allowing openly gay and, I hate how they put it, practicing, but people who are married, because it used to be that you could serve, because there was always this, but you need to be celibate, you can be gay, but you can't be in a relationship. But now openly gay and married and committed people are now being allowed to be ordained in many of the major denominations. We just saw quite recently the Methodist Church undergo a vote, and possibly in the coming months and years, we may see a split over this subject. So I think there's hope. And I think there's going to be, and if you look at the polls, the Gallup polls, the Pew, and all of these different polling places, you see the statistics are increasingly becoming more and more pro-LGBT within the church. And that's encouraging.
Jasmine said you need a moderator. She laughed a lot. I certainly do. But you know what? I learned to keep doing what I have to do until I get the help. The help is on the way, Jasmine. You want to help me? You can help me virtually. I have this other person. Let me see what this person says. I attended a church that every time I walked in, the sermon would turn to sexuality, even the Easter service. Bless your heart. I'm sorry, Candy. I'm going to let Pastor give you a little bit of hope with that.
Yeah, that's exactly. And they'll call it the Holy Spirit. But how is it the Holy Spirit is telling you something so obvious? There's nothing prophetic about you hearing gossip and you then professing it over the pulpit. Yeah. That's not prophetic. That's you being messy.
You're lying. You're lying.
Right. And
you're lying and you're being messy.
Manipulative.
That happened to me.
Yeah. And
I remember I was like, I think I was 13 or 14, and it was, you're young and you're having, for me, I had a boyfriend when I was 12, 13, 14, all kinds of trauma issues going on. So you're looking for love. I wasn't no fast child, but I had a boyfriend at 12. And so at 13, I went to Shiloh Apostolic Church. I was baptized in Jesus' name. I was baptized in Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. I was seeking, you hear me, at a young age. So we went to KFC on a date. Somebody saw me and told the deacon, and he's going to be up there preaching like the Holy Spirit told him. He literally said, yes, he called the address of where I was. Really? You messy. And so the Lord told me, you went to KFC with the boy. Sir, the Lord didn't tell you anything.
Right.
Somebody told you where I was.
Messy Miss Jenkins told you. You didn't get that through the Holy Spirit.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you one question on my own, and then I have two other questions. Oh Lord, one more coming in. Um, my question is, because I watch your TikTok, and this was really important what you spoke about how to read the Bible. Let me expound on this a little bit. I have read the Bible, and when I was much younger, and I'm going to be very transparent and vulnerable right now. I had a dream a while back that I should read the Bible from front to back, and I was like, the devil's a lie. I'm not interested. I'm gonna be honest. I've been through so much church hurt, and with my sexuality and my culture being Jamaican, and just trying to navigate this whole thing, and then my child come out as pansexual and non-binary, and I'm just trying to navigate my this whole journey for me, and I find myself resenting not God because he's all things to me or she's all things to me. You hear my songs, right? And so the thing is, the Bible is freaking hard to read. I'm gonna be honest. Some things don't make sense, and it's not in chronological order. And so for me, when I'm reading, it has to make sense. And people said, well, that's just the Bible. No, it can't be. So talk to us about how did you go about being so well read, and has such a good grasp on the word, and because I heard it in your TikTok, like what would you suggest? How do we read the Bible for it to be easier for us? What version, what books can help us to understand? Because I want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that we realize the Bible was written in Hebrew and Greek. When the Old Testament was written in Hebrew and Aramaic, mainly because the people that it was being written for were Hebrew speakers. It was written in Greek because mainly the people the Bible was being written for spoke Greek. And that was the language of the day, and was written in very plain Greek. It was written so that the people could understand it, or plain Hebrew, so the people could understand what it is that was being said. What is the message that's coming across? And so when we read in our English translations, it behooves us to find a translation that speaks our language in plain language so we can understand it. When we try to read, like, for instance, a King James version, it's so difficult to understand it in that way because it's almost like reading Shakespeare, and it's just not, it's not really that easy to do. You have to decipher through and understand the difference between thou and thee, and who knows, we don't talk that way anymore. So there are many translations that break it down in common English. So I always like to go to BibleGateway.com, which is a free Bible app or website, and it has multiple versions of the Bible, and you can click through them and see which one actually like speaks to you and speaks your language, or which ones, because I'm not one to just have one Bible, because you will see differences in the various translations. And so I want to know, what are these differences? What are the problematic words? Which word doesn't this translation agree with on this one and this one? Like, because that's important. I'm going to go back to the original language. And I do that through BlueLetterBible.org, which is another free website. It's an online concordance. And so then it tells me what the original Hebrew or Greek was, so that I can understand the word for myself and grasp the word from my own perspective. I also like a book called The Story. The Story, it is an amazing book. It actually takes the main message of the Bible and puts it in novel form. We're used to reading novels. The Bible's not a novel. The Bible is a collection of books, and so to read it and then put it together is super hard to do unless you really understand the context, you understand the culture, and you understand what was going on. A chronological Bible is good because it will at least put it in order for you, and you see what was happening in the time that it was happening with other things in the Bible. But that story, it's called The Story. That book gives you the meat of the Bible in one easy read, so that then when you go back, it's not a substitution for the Bible, but when you go into the actual Bible, at least you know the story. It's like watching a movie twice over, or watching the movie of a book before you actually read the book. If you read The Color Purple first, you might not comprehend everything that was happening in the Color Purple. But if you watch The Color Purple first, then read the book, you'll know what was going on. Yep, you'll connect with it. And so
that's called The Story.
The Story.
Uh, Can someone drop that in the comments? Hey, y'all gonna be my assistants. Help is on the way. We have another question. I do want to pause for a second because I know we're going to keep going. I want to share a little bit of Pastor Candy's life. You know, she has a beautiful wife and daughter, and I just want to show you them and introduce them to you, because you know, behind every great woman might be another woman or a man. So yeah, just hold on one second. Let me just share. Look at these beautiful ladies. Look at that. Hold on. Do you see that? That's Elder Erica and Pastor Candace. She be changing her hair up, child.
Yeah, that was on our wedding day.
And that's years later, you know, they have a daughter. It's been what, 16 years? Congratulations. Yes. You have authority in a lot of things there, huh?
And we have 2 other daughters that are older. They're grown. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Grown daughters.
Wait, did I not put your shirts up? Okay, I'll do that in a second. All right. So I have something I want to share with you guys towards the end. It's a song I wrote, and it's for us. It is so fitting. It's not completed, so this is the raw version you're going to hear. So we're going to break a little bit, but not right now. In 5 minutes, I'm going to break for you to hear it. It's the love agenda, right? So it might become a theme for us. So let's go to this question while I upload something else. Pastor Candice, you explained the book of Leviticus very well. How do you address the scriptures in New Testament that about homosexuality? I'm glad you asked that question, Spencer. Yeah. 1 Corinthians 6, 9, 10, Timothy. Absolutely. Go ahead, Pastor. You take it away.
Yes. You know, the ones in Corinthians and Timothy are mistranslated. There's an excellent documentary coming out. It's called 1946, and it will go through the mistranslation, how it happened, what was happening in the world at the time. It's not what our English Bibles say homosexuality. However, it is not homosexual. That word was never in the Bible prior to 1946. What it said, and it would be better translated as someone who was a boy molester, someone who, within context, it makes better sense. Because what we know as homosexuality today did not exist in ancient times. Their view on sexuality was completely different than ours. And so 2 men of equal status was not a thing. However, men of unequal status was. So for instance, an older man and a young boy was a thing, and which was frowned upon by us today, as well as the Apostle Paul back then. And so that's what 1 Corinthians and 1 Timothy is mainly talking about. The words here are synakoitai and malakos. Those are the words in question that have been translated to homosexual in our Bibles, and it simply is not the case. Romans, people say, okay, well, 1 Timothy and 1 Corinthians, fine. But what about Romans 1? That certainly sounds like it's talking about gay people, lesbians and gay people. Until you understand context, until you take it back to the original letter that Paul penned to the church in Rome, what was going on in Rome at the time? Plain answer, it was a hot mess. They had a temple erected in the middle of Rome that was to a pagan god. And within that temple, there was all such of sorts of sex worship to their god, actually a goddess actually. And they would utilize their bodies as a form of worship to that pagan god. All through the Bible, idolatry is frowned upon. God says, one of the first commandment, thou shalt have no other God before me. And if you read through the Old Testament, the bad kings were the idolatrous kings. The good kings were the ones that didn't do idolatry. Again, in the New Testament, same thing. Those that were idolatrous, those that were using their bodies and having sex with all sorts of different people for the purpose of idolatry were frowned upon. And Paul says, don't be like them. But then in Romans 2, even as bad as they were, and the things that they were doing is quite bad. If you ever research Roman sexuality back then, it would put everybody you know to shame. You think we bad. You think OnlyFans is bad. Try going back in time to Romans and watching and seeing their dishes. I'm talking regular dinner plates would have people, pictures of folks depicted as having sex on regular dinner plates. The walls, on their homes, paintings. You was nothing to walk into a Roman home and see pictures of paintings of people doing derogatory things. This was Roman culture. And so Paul was like, we're not doing that. And that's what he was talking against. Not two consensual, loving, same-sex individuals, but folks that were out of control. And even by today's standard, out of control. So no, Romans 1, none of that. Is talking about what we know. Two consensual, loving people want to share life together. Simply is not talked about in these scriptures.
Well, I'm going to do a plug real quick for Pastor Candace. Listen, guys, hop over to this website and you got to get you one of these merchandise. It says godly and gay. You can do both. I'm the truth seeker. You got the mug. You got the, what's that, Pastor? That's a book, a little bag. Yes. You know, it's going to get cold. You know, it's about to get cold. So you go ahead and you order. I'm going to have our information. You don't worry. But you go right on ahead and look for, on, where was this? Bonfire?
Yep. Bonfire. So you can look on Bonfire. The website is up here. Scrolling, I believe it's bonfire.com/store/godly and gay, and in between each one godly / and gay merch.
We're gonna put it in the comments. You're gonna have everything about Pastor. I promise you. All right.
Absolutely. And you can also go to my website. That is there as a link as well. Merch is there as a link. If you go to any of my social media on Instagram, TikTok, you can click my bio link, and that's going to take you to my merch as well.
All right, so we're going to wrap up, guys, and because I'm going to have Pastor really address us as a community, like really address us. You know, I'm going to be off the screen, let her do her thing. But before we do all of that, I want to introduce to you my song. It's not published yet. I just feel like this is the right, Pastor, you heard it. So yeah, I just feel like this is the right moment. I want to share this intimate time with you guys. So remember, it's raw. It's not finished or anything. It's raw stuff, but I want you to listen to the message. Okay. All right. I can't believe I'm doing this. All right. It's called Love is the Agenda. They don't understand. So hold on. Here we go.
Love is the agenda. Love wins. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan.
Conversation.
I'm not sure why it's going so fast, guys. I'm sorry. Something is wrong. That's not how it's supposed to be, but let's see if it's slowed down. All right. Oh, goodness. I think, okay. All right.
Love is the agenda. Love wins. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hand. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. Love is the agenda. So to love me, I surrender. How can you love God who you cannot see? But you are struggling to love and accept me. What a big hypocrisy. But I'm still hoping in humanity. Stop with all the lifestyle comments and the bigotry. I'm who I am, it's my identity. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. They don't seem to understand. They don't really know. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and and condemn me and don't know my story. It's my life and I'm the only one to live it. It's my love, so I get to choose who to give it. I made up my mind, you no longer control me. I'm made in God's image, so God can't disown me. Nah, I'm choosing to live my life, loving fully and freely, so you won't disturb me. They don't seem to understand. I'm a part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. They don't seem to understand. I'm a part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. It is written, mankind is created in God's image. Not just you, not just me, but we. You heard that? You know? And in Proverbs 4:7 says, get wisdom, and with all you're getting, teach, get understanding. Clearly to the Creator, understanding is important. Understanding is healing. There's healing another time. I hope you understand. We're all in God's plan, yeah. We're still in His hands. Don't judge, condemn. Let's get back to loving, yeah. I know you understand. We're still in God's plan. We're still in God's hands. No judging, condemning. Let's get back to love. I'm glad we understand. We're still in God's plan. Always and forever.
Woo! I'm
Yes.
sorry you didn't hear the full thing, but that song was written out of my own experience, and I'm sure it's going to be for many of us. I'm still struggling with my family accepting, all of me. There are parts of me that they need, so they accept those parts. And and this is just being very vulnerable and transparent, because as healers, we choose to be healers because we have stuff we're healing from. And as being a part of the community, I have to be transparent to you for you to understand you're not alone. And being, born and raised in Jamaica, the core is of any Jamaican. You see churches everywhere you go. Every mile you see a church. So it's a country built on churches and God. And so when you're told and taught that you're not loved and you're not accepted and you're wrong and you're going to hell, that's some deep rooted trauma, added to the trauma you're already going through. And so this song for me, the second verse, what it says, it's my life and I'm the only one can live it. It's my love, so I get to choose who to give it. I've made up my mind, you no longer control me. Because for years, even till I wrote the song 2 weeks ago, like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but a big part of me is still broken and hurt because my family don't love and accept the core of who I am, But this song says, I hope you understand we're all in God's plan. We're all in His hands. No more judging and condemning. Let's get back to loving. So thank you guys for listening to that song. I mean, I must love you how I share this with you, because nobody knows I was doing it. But I want you to know I'm doing things behind the scene for us, man. We have to heal this together. So thank you for that. Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah. It's the season of healing.
Let's get back to Pastor. It was fitting. Okay, so I don't have another question here. I have just two last ones. Guys, we're going to really wrap up and have Pastor address this beautiful message. Oh, thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh,
yes.
Thank you, guys.
Part of God's plan. Indeed. And yeah, that song is powerful. Like I said, when I first heard it, like it's powerful. The message is powerful. It don't hurt that it's a good song, but the message is
thank you so much. And it's not anywhere near complete. It needs some backup and whatever. But
it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's for us. So I'm going to ask the two last questions, and then I really want you to address us, Pastor.
Absolutely.
Oh wow. I'm sorry. Woo. All right, here we go. This is the one of the two questions. This is the holiday season. What would you say to people who may have strained family relationships or who have been ostracized altogether, as this is probably a difficult time of the year for them?
Yeah. You know, when we understand who we are and the fact that we are worth so much more than what we allow sometimes, I think that in itself becomes healing. You know, you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are loved by God, regardless of what anybody has to say. No one can change those things about you. And I think we sit on the side of victim, I'll call it. And I don't want to say it in the sense of we are making anything up, because we're not making anything up.
It's true.
But I want us to sit on the side of victorious from now on, because as long as we allow people to hurt us in that manner and we not stand up for us, they'll continue to do it. And here's the example that I have for you. When we all reach a point, well, I won't say all, because some folks wasn't raised the same way. I was raised in a household where, you know, a slap, a spanking, all that stuff was a acceptable form of punishment, you know, discipline whenever you got in trouble. You know, everybody don't raise their kids that way. I understand that, or whatever. But I'm talking from an 80s point of view, with a Black mother who did not spare a switch, a grandmother that did not spare the fly swatter, you know, to get me straight and get me in line. If you grew up like that, you'll understand what I'm telling you. There comes a day in all of our lives when all of a sudden that fly swatter don't hurt the way it used to. When that spanking don't hurt the way it used to. You grew up and you grew bigger. And there comes a day, and I remember when it happened. I don't remember the exact age, but I remember the day my mother hit me, and I just looked at her and said, I was like, what you gonna do with that? It didn't faze me one bit. I think she hurt her hand. She hurt me. And I looked at her, and she looked at me and realized, okay, that ain't faze her. When we get to the point where we are strong enough to endure even their worst blow, I want y'all to hear me, and we look at them and do what Jesus said. See, some people say, well, Jesus was a pacifist because he said, turn the other cheek. No, that was rebel material. If I punch you as hard as I can, and you look at me and say, do this side too, is that all you got? You know, Della Reese, when he punched her and she lifted up and said, you know, that's all you got. When we get to that point, we just won. Because what you say can't faze me. What you do can't hurt me. I have grown strong enough now, and my strength comes from God. It doesn't come from your acceptance of me. It doesn't come from your opinion of me. It doesn't come from what you think I'm doing right or wrong. It's God himself, and you can throw the blow that you want to throw because it will not faze me. That's when we become victorious. That's when we no longer cower behind the fear of their balled up fist. We no longer cower behind the fear of their words. We no longer cower behind what they may or may not say, because we've reached a point where we don't care. We've grown up from it. Put childish things away. I don't care what you have to say about me because I know what God says. Period.
That's really good. That's really good. And that is why I'm glad we are having this. We got to have you again. We got to do something for the Love Zone. Have you, you know, we're getting grants to pay you once a week, something. No, I'm so serious, because what you're saying right now is so powerful. But you know, the mental therapist part of me is saying, okay, are we there yet? Are we at that point where we really don't care? Because everything that you've said, not to challenge you, this is like the mental health side of me coming, right? everything that you've said is going back to knowing that God accepts, loves, receives us. So the ones that don't know and the ones that are still struggling to know, it's still gonna throw them off, throw them over the edge because they're struggling to know. And that's where you come in. That's where your site come in, your website, where you're given, you're a spiritual coach. You will help coach us on our journey. Like, guys, you have to learn to invest in your spiritual, in your healing, because again, spirituality is a part of mental health. See, this is the core of why we stressed out and want to die by suicide and all these things. So she has courses as well as coaching services one-on-one. You look at her website, you will see what she offers. But this is a conversation that we have to keep having because the wounds are deep.
Yeah.
The wounds are deep. Every 30 seconds, someone dies by suicide. Let's say it the right way, guys. It's no longer committed suicide because it's not something they wanted to do. They die. That's the proper way to say die by suicide. And when I look at the study and I look at those percentages, most of us are from the community and youth.
Yeah.
Every 30 seconds, you count from 1 to 30 and someone can't handle it. So we have to heal it from the core. And the core is the trauma. The trauma we gotta we gotta go deep and know that God really accepts us and loves us. Listen, God is gay, God is bisexual. I'm gonna say it right here. Yes, I did. He is all things to all men. In my song, he says, we are created in his image, so he cannot disown any one of us. If you're trans, if you're non-binary, if you're pansexual, I don't care who we are, what we are, or what our identity is. We are created by him or by her or by them. Yes, he is all of that. We have such a patriarchal a society that makes us think we just have to see God as him. And my other song is calling him Mother God. It's beautiful too. So, with all that we are sharing here today, guys, I want you to get some help. Help is on the way. Help is out there. It's not going to be free. We don't have a God that can't afford anything. We're going to make the investment. And one of the things for the Love Zone Foundation, Inc. is to get the grants to pay for these things. Because I know some of us can't afford it, because I struggle too. I pay $150 every time I see my therapist. Yes, I do. So this is the point of the Love Zone Foundation, Inc., to get these grants and to pay into our mental health. And a part of our mental health is our spirituality. And we have our coach right here, that will help us on that journey. So, we hear all of these things and it is a relief, but we're still dealing with the trauma. We don't just see things and the trauma goes away. It's deeper. We gotta uproot those things so we can heal and we can live our best life 2022. And this is my gift to you. So, oh my goodness, wait a minute now. I'm wrapping up. I have one last question for Pastor Candace to take over. And we got 10 questions sitting in the box. Guys, we're going to have to wrap up because I have to be respectful of her time, and she has a family, and I hope she's hearing ching ching in the Cash App. I'm going to put her Cash App back up. We need to invest, guys. Sow a seed. So I'm going to take these last 10 questions. May I, Pastor?
Absolutely.
Where's the Cash App? So we're going to take these last. I don't play about us. Like, it's us for us. We got to support each other. Don't take each other for granted. So, $CHARDNETT. Let me hear the ching ching. So we have 10 comments or questions. Guys, this will be the very last questions or comments I will address because we have to release our pastor to her family. All right, so let's see here. And if I've missed your comment, please do not take it personally. I'm going to go back through everything and I will tag Pastor to respond to you. I love you guys. It's not intentional. All right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Beautiful song. Okay, that's all right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the affirming words and the comments here. Okay. So this says it's a personal journey, but also a journey for the community as a whole to get there, to be forced. Yes. Wiggins, I absolutely agree. but Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
Yeah.
And so the healing is not going to take. Listen, I've been on this journey since I was 18. I'm almost 40, and I still got a whole bunch of stuff I ain't unpacking. I'm being real with you.
Yep.
I'm
But
still
healing is we heal in community. You know, it's very hard to heal in isolation, and so I'm a big advocate for community.
Absolutely. So I'm calling out to our alphabet family. It's time to heal. We are the heroes we are waiting for. Those people who don't like us, don't want us on this earth, don't understand us because they ain't got the song and the message yet. I hope they understand. We're all in his plan. We're still in his hand. Right? So they don't get the memo yet, but it's our job to take care of our house. We're all siblings. You can't see your sister, your uncle, your cousin, your grandma being killed or being hurt, and you're not jumping up out there. So we got to come together. And like Wiggins said, we got to heal this in the community. We have to. We're all we have, right? So there are resources. No more should we have excuses about, well, I don't know and I don't have the money. We have resources, right? And we're building our tribe. So just ask. If you don't know where to go, come to the Love Zone Foundation and I will point you to the different directions, okay? All right. So what's this? Praise you, Lord. You're so okay. Hi, Daphne. What's that?
We call her Dale. That's Dale.
Oh, hey, Dale. All right. So we're finishing up. I pray that we continually present ourselves with Jesus's love over the picture of demonization. All right. It's God. All right. Okay. So that's it. I'm going to have Pastor address us. And I'm getting off the screen so she can do her own thing without my tears and distraction. Where is my question? The very last question, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. And thank you, Elder Erica, for loaning your wife to us for such a long time. All right. I need to get it together. Okay, here we go. So this is my question, and then I will take myself off the screen so you can address us. What guidance can you give for handling homophobic and transphobic people? These attacks that we get every day, some of us are coming out every day. Some of us have to come out every day for different reasons. What guidance would you give us? And after that, just address us, send us into the 2022. Take it away.
Absolutely. You know, whenever I come up against homophobic or transphobic people, number one, I'm not transgender, but I consider myself an accomplice for the transgender community, which means that in my presence, there is no homophobic talk. I put a stop to it immediately. I don't allow people to disregard or to disrespect my trans siblings in my presence. And so I think that's number one for me, being someone who is on the outside of that community. As far as being a part of the homosexual community, the lesbian, bisexual community, when homophobic people come against me, you know, I do one of two things. A lot of times I ignore homophobic remarks. I don't engage with people. In the same way I tend to remove myself from racist people and their presence, I do the same thing when it comes to homophobic people. I will remove myself from your presence with a quickness. Now, I know that there are people that you cannot remove yourself from. For various reasons, whether they be family, whether they be work relationships, school, whatever the case is, there are people that you cannot avoid that will be in your presence, or you will have to be in theirs. And that's where boundaries are so important. I can't stress boundaries for 2022 enough. You teach people how to treat you. I say that all the time, and everybody at my church has already heard me say that 1,000 times, but I mean it. You teach people how to treat you. What you allow people to say and do to you is the way in which they're going to feel like it's okay to do it. You nip it in the bud from the time that it happens. The first off remark, you nip that in the bud. The first time somebody disrespects your spouse in your presence and calls them your roommate or calls them, your friend or whatever, correct them. The first time someone misgenders you and uses the wrong pronoun, correct them. The first time somebody does something something that is not respectful, address it. Don't let it go by. Don't let it slide, because as soon as they realize that you're not going to be passive, as soon as they realize that you're not going to stand for it, then you are setting a boundary for yourself. Then the sooner that you don't, then you have not set a precedent or allowed them to set a precedent for treatment. Stop it right there. If there are people in your life that you have allowed to treat you a certain way, and you're saying tonight the buck stops here, and this is where I stand up for myself, there is nothing wrong, especially with the turn of the new year. There is nothing wrong with you saying, this is 2022, the new year has come, and these are the ways in which I will tolerate your treatment for me. And if you cannot treat me with the decency and respect that I have treated you with and that I deserve, then I'm sorry, I will need to remove myself from your presence, or I will need to take further action, and whatever that means, depending on where you are, whether that means going to HR, whether that means to, doing whatever you need to do. But do not be afraid to set a boundary with who you are and what you will allow in your presence. Don't be afraid any longer. And many of us, we don't set boundaries. And if we set a boundary, we move the mile marker back, and we allow people to creep up on that boundary, and then we'll just move it back a little more, and they'll creep up on it, and we'll move it back a little more until they are all the way in our space. I say in 2022, that's got to stop. There's nothing wrong with setting a boundary for yourself, for your sanity, and for your health. Set that boundary and then stick to the boundary, and require that people stick to the boundary that you have set. That's how and at the very least, it's called respect. You don't have to like me. You don't have to agree with me. But what you will do is respect me. And that's how we need to go into this new year. I'm going to respect you, and at the same time, I'm going to require that you respect me in return, right? So hopefully that answered that question. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely, Pastor. I'm just taking notes. I'm taking notes, and Jasmine said I need an assistant. So I'm over here trying to do the work and put it up. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I preach boundaries a lot, and that's a big thing. And I really hope we take heed. Like, boundaries keep you safe. It protects you from heartbreak and from going back and forth with people and arguing, and it causes people to it force people to respect you without you having arguments. So I absolutely, Pastor, absolutely, and stick to them. Yes. So I'm gonna let you. Are you gonna address, or that's it?
Yeah, absolutely. And for the final words, if I could, I just need you to know, and if I could just bring up one last thing. God loves you just like you are. Yeah.
It's your platform. Go ahead.
Also, just as you are. What you do with what God has given you can either glorify him or not. And my personal goal has always been to glorify God. And that means with everything about me, if he's given it to me, I'm going to utilize it for his glory. I'm going to, and there was a song about it. If I was a writer, right? If I could write songs, if I could do this, I'd do it for the glory of God. And that's how we should live our lives. And even your sexuality can be glorifying to God in the way that you love yourself and you love other people. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a mistake. And you are not someone that has to hide or shroud behind anything, because God has created, just like you are, has created you. You serve a purpose in this world. And if we were to just understand that, I think as a community, that we are created. I love the song because the message is so pure. We are a part of God's plan. We're not an anomaly. We're not some type of one-off. We're not the mistake. We're not the knockoff bin people. We are part of the plan. We have been fearfully and wonderfully created, just as we are, just as we loving who we love, the gender that we have been created this way. And it's a beautiful thing. Don't let these people, somebody's bigotry, tell you different. Because as soon as you allow that lie, that God didn't create you this way, God didn't do this, God didn't do that. Well, as soon as you allow that into your psyche, that's when we start the self-destructive behaviors. No more. You are loved. You are lovely. And your job on this earth is to show that love and be that love for other people. God wants to utilize you for his planned purpose. There are people that need your voice. There are people that need you. There are people that want you. Don't allow someone else to dictate that for God. God didn't need our help. God doesn't need mother and her help. You know who you are in him and walk in that. Walk in spirit and in truth. There's a lot, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. There's a lot to be said about spirit and truth. And when we shroud ourselves, we hide our light under a basket. We are supposed to be the light on the hill for the people to see. And if you're hiding a portion of you, then you're pretty much hiding all of you and allowing people to just see the portion that you want to be seen. But God sees all of you. And God wants you to worship him, as the scripture says, in spirit and in truth. Be liberated, be free. Go into 2022 with a new attitude and a newfound freedom and boldness in how you've been created. And don't you let anybody tell you different. Remember, I love you. God loves you. Learn and continue to love yourself.
Pastor, I cannot thank you enough. Trying to keep the last bit of tears. Thank you, ladies, for this informative session. Very inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting. Guys, I'm trying to keep it together. So let me see some hearts and make sure you did put some love in her Cash App, guys. I'm not playing with you because we're going to have her back. She spent an hour and a half of her time. She has a child, she has children, a wife waiting, but this is love and ministry. And Jasmine, like you said, we don't show up for each other well. We're changing that narrative for 2022. Pastor Candace showed up, and I am showing up with the Love Zone, and we're going to find other people to show up. We're going to keep showing up, each one reach one, and that's so we're going to heal our community one show up at a time. So if you'd like to hear the song again, this time I won't play it through the computer. Before we go, let me see some hearts from Pastor Candace, and let me see some hearts for the song again so we can bop to it and remember, we are all in his plans. We are all in his hands, right?
Yes, we are.
All right. So did they give hearts? I'm not seeing any hearts. Let me see. If I get no hearts, it's no permission. No hearts mean no permission. You know what, Pastor Candace, you're the guest of the hour. Would you like to hear the song again?
Yes, I would like to hear the song again.
This song is all through. I'm going to play it all throughout to the end, so you will hear it says love wins. Let's go.
Awesome.
Is the agenda.
Start from love is the agenda.
Love is the comments and the bigotry.
Sorry, guys. We having a little bit of technical difficulty. I guess people don't. The devil man. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it right. Hang on with me. Hang in with me. Here we go.
Love
I'll sing with it this time.
is the agenda.
Love wins. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know the story. Love is the agenda. So to love me, I surrender. How can you love God who you cannot see, but you are struggling to love and accept me? What a big hypocrisy. But I'm still hoping in humanity. But stop with all the lifestyle comments and the bigotry. I'm who I am, it's my identity. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. They judge and condemn me and don't know the story. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's hands. It's my favorite part. It's my life and I'm the only only one can live it. It's my love, so I get to choose who to give it. I've made up my mind, you no longer control me. I'm made in God's image, so God can't disown me now. I'm choosing to live my life, loving fully and freely, so you won't disturb me. They don't seem to understand. I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's head. They judge and condemn me and don't know my story. They don't seem to understand. They don't really know I'm part of God's plan. I'm still in God's head. They judge and condemn me and don't know the story. It is written. Mankind is created in God's image. Not just you. Not just you, but we. You know? And in Proverbs 4:7 says, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. Clearly to the Creator, understanding is important. Understanding is healing. So to you, my friends, I hope you understand. We're all in God's plan, yeah. We're still in God's hands. Don't judge, condemn. Let's get back to loving, yeah. I know you understand. We're all in God's plan, yeah. We're still in God's hands. No judging, condemning. Let's get back to love. I'm glad you understand. We're still in God's plan. Always. No condemning, no judging. Let's get back to love. See, it's a love agenda, and love has no gender, but its only agenda is to love. Let me say that again. It's a love. People say, what's your agenda? Y'all have this gay agenda trying to... No. This is a love agenda, and love has no gender, but its only agenda is to love.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us this evening, and I will definitely put Pastor Candace information all through the comments, and then she will be on. It will be on my page. You'll be able to contact her. Go get you some spiritual coaching. She's offering that. Invest in yourself. Happy New You. Not even Happy New Year. Happy New You, and the new you is going to invest in your healing. Take your money out and invest, right? Because we're going to heal together, and we're going to make our community better together. So remember, we are in his plans, so we're in his hands. All right. Love you guys. And thank you so much, Pastor Candace.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Come on to say hello or something, or she's being okay.
No, I'm in my little recording studio, so she's downstairs and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And Pastor Elder Erica, I know you're watching. So thank you too for allowing this, because you gave me your wife for our almost 2 hours. So thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much. All right, let me just close out. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking it out with us. Oh my gosh, it's an hour and 43 minutes. This was definitely an awesome time. I will, as I've promised, put our information out for you to reach out to Pastor Candace and get coaching, spiritual coaching and guidance, and buy her merchandise. Guys, you got to get godly and gay. Yes, I can be both, right? Yes, truth seeker, all of that stuff. Let me just put this thing back up, because again, we are practicing in 2022 reciprocity. When we get something, we're going to plant the seed and we're going to share it, right? So she gave us so much tonight. We're going to invest in her business, and we're going to invest in her church. I'm going to put her information out, as I said, but I'm just a one-man camp right now. Thank you so much for bearing with me, though. Let me take this off. Okay, so I will have the website where you can go and get this information. Here we go, right here. it's sticking at the bottom. I'm just going to leave all of that stuff up, so when you come back to this video, you can get a hold of those information, and I will put more on her on my page. All right, let me see. Amen. What a wonderful show. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you for being such great troopers. Oh my goodness, you guys did so well. You asked all the questions. Oh Lord, thank you guys so much. And I look forward to seeing you again on our next conversations. And look out for that that EP I'm working on. It's gonna be great. All right. Remember, we're in God's plans and we're in his hands. I love you guys. Have a great evening.